Hi, my name is Mike Riley. I'm here with you today to provide the inventor's orientation to the innovation discovery process. I'm an employee of TechLink in Bozeman, Montana. TechLink is a Department of Defense tech transfer partnership intermediary. And the program we're going to discuss with you today was sponsored by the Technology Transfer Office at the Department of the Navy. The purpose of our discussion today is to provide an orientation for you, the inventor, who will be participating in an innovation discovery event. Our agenda today is fairly simple. We're going to talk about what innovation discovery is. We're going to talk about different variants or types of innovation discovery events. We're going to discuss your motivation as an inventor to participate in these events. Talk about your role in the actual process during the day of the event. And finally, discuss some best practices for preparing your presentation to the brainstorming panel. Let's start with what is an innovation discovery event and what are the three types of innovation discovery event. Innovation discovery is a process that was originally developed at Crane Labs in Crane, Indiana, as a way of discovering hidden intellectual property. They used brainstorming, where a group of creative, talented individuals would hear a presentation by an innovator and then discuss the potential uses, potential applications, and potential intellectual property implications of that inventor's work. Depending on where you are in the invention process, there are three different types of innovation discovery events. For inventors who have not yet filed an invention disclosure, you're likely going to be participating in an invention discovery event. This was the original motivation for the innovation discovery process, and the goal is to take people who are working often on practical problems and have a panel of brainstorming experts look at their work and try and determine whether or not they have in fact created any unique, valuable, and ultimately patentable intellectual property. The second type of innovation discovery event is called invention improvement. The target for this is inventors who have filed an invention discovery but have really not yet pursued the patenting process. The goal of an invention improvement event is to make sure that the claims are as broad as possible and that novel fields of use can be identified for the invention such that the patent that ultimately issues can be as valuable as possible. The third type of innovation discovery event is called commercialization exploration. This would be an appropriate event for technology where a patent is already issued, and the goal of that is to help the technology transfer people and the inventor identify potential targets and potential fields of use for that intellectual property. So, depending on where you are in the process, the type of innovation discovery event that you use will vary. Let's talk about why you as an inventor might want to participate in an innovation discovery event. In my experience, inventors have enjoyed the process of having a panel of smart, creative people take a look at what they've done. Generally, they're able to identify applications and ideas and expansions beyond what maybe you as the inventor initially saw, and it's often fairly energizing for the inventor to get this sort of feedback. Ultimately, though, the goal of the innovation discovery process is to generate better intellectual property. For you, the inventor, that means maybe better patents, better claims, and ultimately a more commercializable intellectual property, which might result in a positive royalty outcome. The innovation discovery event is divided into three parts. The first part is a half hour that rests primarily in your court. The goal here is for the innovator to be able to describe to the brainstorming panel exactly what it is they've done. Normally it's divided about evenly into a 15-minute presentation where the inventor presents their work and the technology they've generated, a 15-minute question and answer period where the panel asks questions of the inventor and ultimately tries to make sure they understand just exactly what the technology is and what it does, and more importantly, maybe what are the unique and valuable aspects of that technology. Following the presentation by the inventor, there's about an hour-long period where the brainstorming panel works on the technology. The first part is fairly expansive in the sense that the brainstorming panel tries to expand the view of the technology, look for new applications, think about broader pictures, and maybe identify specific commercial opportunities and other areas for research that the presentation has suggested to them. This is a very creative process, and with the brainstorming panel frequently bouncing ideas off one another and going places where you don't anticipate they're going to go. The second half of the brainstorming part is an examination of the actual ideas that are created with an effort to refine some of them and identify the ones perhaps with the most promise. Your participation as an inventor is critical during the first part where you're presenting the technology. During the second part where the brainstorming panel is brainstorming, the inventor is not involved because the purpose is not to be constrained by technology. And finally, often the inventor is involved in the discussion as the ideas are refined, because some things may not be technically possible and others might be. Your role as the inventor in an innovation discovery event is to do the following. First, you have to present your technology clearly and in such a way that the brainstorming panel can understand what you did, and particularly what's innovative and different about what you did compared to what's gone before. Secondly, you'll need to answer questions about your work. A key point throughout this orientation is that the level at which you present your work has to be appropriate so that the panel can understand it. Remember that the panel consists of smart, creative individuals, but they're not necessarily technically literate in your area, although they may be generally technically literate. If you've not filed an invention disclosure, the odds are excellent that the brainstorming process will generate some intellectual property which will need to be disclosed. If you've already filed an invention disclosure, the odds are good that the process will result in a broader claim set for any potential patent you might file, and additionally, perhaps identify a larger number of commercial uses for your technology than you possibly have thought of. Finally, if you already have a patent in hand, the best use of the brainstorming panel is to generate ideas for how your technology might conceivably be commercialized and to identify partners to whom it might be licensed. Now, how do you as an inventor present your work to the panel in such a way and at such a level as they're able to provide maximum value to you? To help you with that, we've provided a number of templates that you can use to structure your PowerPoint presentation. I would caution you to use these templates as a guideline instead of an absolute hard and fast rule, because one size doesn't always fit all. What's important here is that you convey what it is that you did that's unique and different from what everybody else has done before, and at a technical level where people can understand it, but maybe not so technically detailed that they're bogged down in the technology. Let me show you some of these presentation templates. Remembering that you really only have 15 minutes to present to the panel, we've tried to cut to the chase in terms of what actually needs to be in your presentation. Normally these presentations start with a problem statement. Likely your work started with a problem. It's helpful to establish the general context in which your technology has been developed. This helps the panel see how it fits with other technology in other areas. As you discuss your problem, the more you can focus on how you exactly solve that problem, the better off you are. Oftentimes, the reason you engage it in the work is because existing technology was not able to solve the problem, and that's what required you to develop something new and innovative. Once you've described the problem you started with, the next step is to talk about how you solved that problem. This is probably where you generated or refined your intellectual property. Ultimately, if you could have solved the problem with off-the-shelf technology, you would have. So you probably had to do something unique and different in terms of materials, in terms of technology, in terms of software. Somehow you had to do something different to create a solution to your problem. Once you've explained how you've solved the problem to the panel, the next step is to try and think about what it is that's made your work unique. To be intellectual property, something has to be innovative. It also has to be valuable. And what makes technology valuable is if it produces something that's faster, better, cheaper, more convenient, easier to implement, or has wider applicability. So as you're considering your technology, think about what it is you've done that's unique and innovative, and also what benefits that might ultimately provide to folks other than the people for whom you solve the problem. The final part of your presentation should focus on commercial applications for your technology. Obviously, you're not an expert in what the commercial applications for your technology is, and we're not expecting you to be. What we are hoping is that you can provide some broad general guidelines in terms of where the technology naturally fits. To the extent that you can identify commercial applications or industries where the technology might be used, that helps the brainstorming panel understand your technology better and be able to expand those ideas. Let's summarize the process of presenting your work. First, remember, you only have 15 minutes, so don't put too much on these PowerPoint slides. Secondly, remember that your target audience is smart, creative, technically literate, but not experts in what you're doing. So a key challenge is to find an appropriate level of technology explanation that enables them to understand generally what you've done, but maybe not necessarily in ultimate detail. This means going easy on technical explanations, jargon, and acronyms, because generally those are not well understood outside a specific area. Focus on something that could be explained to somebody at a lower level who's not familiar. The more you can use models, demonstrations, images, the more effective your presentation will be. We've discovered that when the panel has something they can touch, it's a great aid in helping them understand your technology and how it works and how it's different. So the key success factor for your presentation is being able to explain to the panel what you've done and how it's unique and different, and ultimately to provide a start on what is valuable about what you've done. Thanks for your patience, and have a good innovation discovery event.